The other day, I caught up with St. John's Sea Dog GM Trevor Georgie to talk about his acquisition of Islanders prospect William Dufour, why he went after him, what he thinks his potential is in the league and with St. John, and what he thinks of the Isles' fifth round pick in 2020. Here's the interview. Cool. I don't want to take too much of your time because you're a busy man. And I really wanted to talk to you about William Dufour and his the trade that you guys made to pick him up. So I guess the first part where I want to start is you guys had the high draft pick, right? So eighth overall. Is that where this trade kind of started or materialized, or is this something that began earlier between you and Drummondville?
Of course. So Philippe Boucher and I, actually, my first major trade in the queue back in 2016 was with Philippe Boucher when he was the GM in Quebec, and we acquired Callum Booth, the goalie who's now in Boston system. But at that time, he was drafted by Carolina, and so I know Phil for a long time. So we have a good, I would consider it a very friendly trading relationship. A very friendly relationship. So we were speaking about Williams Dufour at Christmas last year. We had high interest in maybe possibly adding him. We couldn't reach a price or an agreement that, on either end that really was a fit. Again, complicated year. You have the pandemic. You weren't sure at that time, the Christmas trade period. We weren't playing. We didn't know when we'd play again because our season was on pause in Atlantic Canada. So it just didn't come together. It didn't materialize, but we had long conversations over Christmas, over the Christmas trade period, and then restarted those conversations again this off season. So he's a player that we've certainly been interested in for quite some time, and we're happy that we finally got him. I know for Phil, obviously where he's at with his team, he had a big draft last year, and he's building around the 04s and now the 05s, and so eighth overall was significant for him and attractive. We didn't want to give up eighth overall. That was not something we wanted to do. We wanted to keep that pick. Fortunately, we got given the nature of this year's draft and the various opinions from teams because of the or lack of viewings and lack of information, we were able to get the player that we would have likely selected at 8 with our pick with our pick in number 19.
Wow. Okay. So that's
so
crazy.
it worked out for us. But at that time, it was hard. It was certainly at the time of the trade. It was certainly a gamble because you just don't know how a draft plays out.
Right, for sure. So is Phil someone that, obviously, like you said, you've been targeting him since Christmas, but was he kind of like on the short list or the top of the short list of players you were looking to bring in for this season?
Yeah, he was certainly on a short list of players we want to bring in this year for a number of reasons. So one, size. We're a team that we certainly made that a priority. We want to increase our team size. And he has that in spades. He's a right shot. Our team has, I'd say, three of our top nine forwards are right shots. The left are all left. Our left shot. So adding a big power forward that shoots. It's a righty was important for us. He's a goal scorer. We didn't have trouble scoring goals last year, but we lost, Vladislav Kotkov, who's a big right shot, NHL signed player. Now we've been able to replace him with, 19-year-old, big right shot NHL drafted player. We also liked his versatility. So Will played the middle quite a bit last year. I know a lot of people look at him as a winger, but he played the middle last year for quite a bit of the time. He can play the wing. He kills penalties. He plays power play. So we liked his versatility. So size, handedness, style of play, and versatility were the big factors with Will. And there's not really a player like him. There's not many players like him in the league, right? Like you don't have players of that size and that skill, that was almost a goal a game last year. You just don't. They're just not. There's not even that they're not available. They're quite rare to find.
Yeah, exactly. And I assume that, well, I know you've already said it, that you figure he's going to have quite an impact on the team immediately. But just on the trade package alone, right? A first, a fourth in 2023, and Simon Hughes going to Drummondville, or Hughes, sorry. That speaks a lot of, like, we expect him to come in because we think that he can have that huge impact like he had in a shortened season last year.
No question. I mean, we think that he's a candidate for 40 goals. We think that he can have a big impact for us next year. I think that with his size, he can lean on opponents. He can make room for our smaller players. And no, absolutely, we see him as again a potential 40 goal scorer, power forward, and that's why we're prepared to trade for him and pay that package. We like Simon quite a bit, but if you look at the impact for us next year, 19-year-old William Dufour or 17-year-old Simon Hughes are significantly. We think they're significantly different impacts. Although we do think Simon's going to be a great player in this league, and we hope he does, and he'll get that opportunity in Drummondville.
Right. So I wanted to get to the fact that he's been traded a few times. Is that ever a factor for you when you look to bring him in? Like, so he was drafted by Rouen, traded by them to Chicoutimi, from Chicoutimi to Drummondville, now Drummondville to you. Does that ever come into factor, like he's moved around a lot, or is that just kind of, you can explain those trades based off the circumstances of those teams, and that's why it doesn't matter?
Yeah, it's certainly a factor. I mean, we consider all of it. And so, yeah, it's certainly a factor. Looking back at those trades, in Williams' defense, he was traded from Rouen to Chicoutimi, I believe, in the Noah Dobson trade.
Yeah.
There's Rouen to Chicoutimi for.
It was definitely the year of Noah Dobson for sure. 100%.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was for a significant piece. It was Rouen trying to making a move to make a push, and so he moved. He was 16 and he moved to Chicoutimi. Then Chicoutimi wanted to make a push, and he ends up going in the Dawson Mercer trade.
Yeah.
So then he's in Drummondville, and he makes, now it's the shoes on the other foot. We're adding him to make a push, right? So there's that. It's so situational. The other thing I'd say is, anytime a player moves around many addresses, there's a lot of varying opinions, and that's pretty common. When I know when I chatted with Will when we acquired him, I just made it very clear to him. I'm not concerned about other teams' opinions of you that have traded you away. I'm concerned of our own opinion, and that we're open. I'll make up my mind what we think of you when you're in a Sea Dogs jersey, and we'll just go from there.
Perfect. So what can St. John do to help him get to the next level? Because this is probably this will be his last year at the junior level, and then ideally he goes pro for the Islanders, which is where my interest comes into play, really. What can you guys help him with? Because you've got quite and under your stewardship specifically, a rap sheet of bringing in these talented NHLers. You got Veleno, Mathieu Joseph, who just won a Stanley Cup, Thomas Chabot, and then you also have Jacob Zboril. Like, these are all names that we know. What can St. John do to help him get to that next level?
So, a few things. I mean, he's going to come into a team that has Memorial Cup aspirations. It doesn't mean that we're going to host, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get there naturally either. But, we have those aspirations. We're a team reaching maturity that wants to make a push. He's going to have a lot of talented players to play with, I think, complement his skill set. You look at the Ryan Francises of the world, you look at, and I can go on and on, Josh Lawrence, Peter Reynolds, Brady Burns, Cam McDonald, I'm missing guys, but, there's a number of players that are talented and I think would fit in really well, with Will. So I think that compliment is nice. I'd say the other thing is, the opportunity to win. Will hasn't had that chance yet. Every time the team, he wasn't at an age of maturity where he had that chance to be part of that winning. and it was always him heading out the door to add an older player. Now he's the older player. Now is his last year. He should be hungry to win. You want to leave the queue as a winner, and he'll have that opportunity here. And when we see, it's a good point, Michel, in 2017 with that group that won the President Cup, but did lose in the Memorial Cup. That group had, and of course, Mathieu Joseph and Thomas Chabot and Matthew Highmore and Jakob Zaboral and Joe Valeno and a lot of really talented, Julien Gauthier, a lot of really talented players that are playing in the NHL. You also have a number of players in the American League with Callum Booth and Alex Dorio, who was a backup goalie at the time, and Spencer Smallman, and I'm missing many, Boko Imama. And then you also have a number of players that got CIS scholarships, right? That end up playing, getting a full education and getting to continue and extend their hockey career. So everybody, when you win, as you know, Michelle, when a team wins, everybody wins, and it doesn't matter how significant of a role the player plays. Everybody, when you're a winner, everyone wants a winner on their team, whether it be at the NHL level, pro level, or CIS level. And for Will coming in here, and for the rest of the group of players, it's going to be about making those sacrifices to win, to unlock those opportunities that come and get brought to winners.
100%. I love everything you just said. Yes, you win as a team, and you obviously want to leave as a champion, or go as far as you possibly could have gone. Ended on a high note, right? And you're right. Like, it doesn't just go you don't just go immediately from the QMJHL to the NHL. There are other steps that get you into that NHL career, right? Like, if you're getting a free ride or a scholarship out of it, that's a win. That's a huge win.
Absolutely. And when you win, doors open.
Absolutely.
Right. How often do you hear, when the guy trade deadline in the NHL, yeah, they went and paid, they paid a second round pick or a third round pick or a top end prospect to get that depth player, but he's won before. He's a winner. He's been there. Like, all the cliches that you hear, teams value players that have won, or quote unquote been there, and now it's up to Will and the rest of our team it's in their hands. It's up to them whether they get there or not, and whether they do that.
Yeah. All I thought of when you were saying that, the players who've been there and win, all I could see is Pat Maroon in my head with his 3 Stanley Cups, thinking right? I almost didn't make the league, and now look at me, buddy.
Absolutely. Like what's his value on the open market? If Tampa were to move him, like what, his contributions, again, just being the moniker, 3 Stanley Cups in a row, his value is certainly, in my opinion, his value is going to be significantly higher because of that, right?
Absolutely. So this is going to be my last one for you. I don't want to take too much more of your time, and it's kind of looking forward. So you're getting Will. You haven't seen him play just yet, so it's kind of on the spot-ish. The Islanders drafted him in the 5th round. What do you think of him going forward? Do you think that what is the ceiling that you think of him specifically? Is it maybe he makes the NHL in like a bottom 6 role, or is it maybe a little bit more?
Good question. So I haven't seen. So when I like to preface it, I'm not an NHL scout. There's a lot of very smart people that make those decisions, and I'm not one of them. So I'll preface it with that. And again, I haven't had Will here in St. John. I haven't got to see him live. I think I've get to see him live this year once. So it's been a while. So a lot of video, but we haven't had the chance to see him live. But I think with a player like Will and his size, I think one of the biggest things for a player of that with that skill set and that size is the conditioning, is making sure you're in top shape, is taking care of your body like a pro player. Because the demands, when you're younger coming up, just being naturally having a larger frame, you can be quite dominant. At the NHL level, everybody is physically imposing or is physically strong. So I think that's really important. He's got I would not say NHL. He's got a professional shot. He's got a pro shot. I would, what I will say is I think that the New York Islanders, I mean, they're a great organization. I think that they, you know, I think that they took a chance on Will with a pick that is later than I think his skill set and potential. A pick later than his skill set and potential indicates. Like, I think it could be a very, very shrewd draft pick, a very shrewd draft pick, because I think his value, doesn't look around the CHL, and there weren't many players at 18 years old that were close to that were a goal a game, close to a goal a game. That just doesn't. They don't grow on trees, and to get him where they got him in the draft, I think that'll, prove to be a very shrewd draft pick where they got him. I imagine that if everything comes together for Will, I think there'll be a lot of teams kicking themselves on passing on him.
I 100% agree. Thank you for that.